Back before, I think when I did my last video about this, I was using Tascam FW1082, which is an 8-channel audio input device which uses FireWire. It is also a MIDI controller for doing it's a control surface for MIDI, and I loved it. I used it for both music production and also video production because it worked really well with Final Cut Pro 7. And when I upgraded from OS 10 10.6.8, which is Snow Leopard, to Mavericks, I just suddenly and sadly discovered that Tascam didn't have any drivers for it, and they stopped supporting it like 4 years before I even got it. It was an old device when I bought it in the first place. I tend to not spend a lot of money on my gear, so that's my own fault. But in any case, this is a replacement for that, this is not an audio input. This is just a MIDI control surface. This is a Behringer X-Touch, and I absolutely love this thing. This thing is great. I love to have a tactile feel for things. When I'm editing, I really like to have my hand here using the scroll wheel, or the transport buttons, or manipulating the faders. I really like it a lot. So, and that's something I really missed until I was able to replace my Tascam. I wasn't using my Tascam for about 2 years, and in the meantime I was using this, which I bought this after I upgraded from Final Cut Pro 7 to Final Cut Pro 10. Because I still like to have the scroll wheel and some sort of tactile feel on with my right hand as I was doing things, but I still missed the more controls you have here. But this kind of satiated me. I was able to get through. It's got a scroll wheel and a jog wheel, and it also has 5 programmable buttons, which you can use this in almost any application. It doesn't matter if it's music or video or word processing or even web surfing. There's a profile set up for almost every application you can find that makes it more functional and useful. I use this. This is a Apple keyboard, but it's been modified by this company called Logic Keyboard, and they have overlaid all of at least all the mostly commonly used keyboard shortcuts for Apple Final Cut Pro 10. And it makes it easier to, instead of looking it up, it makes it easier to find what I want to find. But I still, to this day, I still don't use this nearly as much as I should, because I'm still much more of a mouse guy, which I use the mouse a lot. As you can see from the difference also in the last video that I did with discussing my hardware, I don't have my Korg Triton LE keyboard up here anymore. I needed something that was more full-sized, and so I bought a M-Audio KeyStation Pro 88, which is this huge behemoth of a thing. It had actual weighted keys, and it had 8 sliders and a bunch of 24 knobs, rotary knobs. It was super programmable. It was great. However, it was also a little outdated because it was already 5 or 6 years old when I bought it, and it was easy to program it for use with certain functions of my DAW. Other aspects it didn't, and plus one of the biggest reasons why I got rid of it was because the weighted key action was very loud. So even if I had my headphones on and nobody else could hear what it was controlling, they would hear this big clunkety clunkety clunk clunk. And I'm in a small basement apartment, and it was at nighttime when I'm going to town composing music. It got kind of distracting for the people around me. So I opted out of that and replaced it with this. Now I have, in order to make more use of the real estate I have on my desktop, I mounted a drawer slide on both sides of the table here or the desk, and I put a board there, and then so I was able to buy this. This is a Keystation 88 from M Audio, and it's got semi weighted action feel. It's okay, but it's not really like a piano, but it's still a lot more softer as far as the sounds than the big one that I had. It has the jog, or has the mod wheel and the pitch bend, and it's got volume, and it does have a little bit of programmability. You can do some things with it, all of the things here, but I always do that within my DAW. I never do it on the hardware end. It even has transport controls over here, which is kind of nice, but again, I don't really use it for that. But I like that it's here when I want it to be, but if I don't need it to be, which is a lot of the time when I'm working on other things, I can just go up here and I have a lot more access to things around me. So for my computer, I'm using a 2008 Mac Pro with 16 gigs of RAM, 2.6 gigahertz Intel quad-core Xeon, and it is a lot better than my previous computer, which was a Mac Mini with a Core 2 Duo processor. Anyway, pretty happy with that. I got rid of my two 22-inch Scepter monitors, and then I replaced them with these two 27-inch Acer monitors. I have them situated on a dual monitor mount that's clamped to the back of the desk. And I have them situated where one is vertical and one is horizontal. And the reason why I have the vertical one is because I tend to do a lot of orchestral writing, and as you can see all the instruments from top to bottom, and it's very nice. It helps me be able to kind of see what's happening all at once, whereas if I had that same score in the landscape kind of orientation, I would see more measures, but I wouldn't see as many instruments. And so for working with my DAWs and also for Final Cut Pro and pretty much everything else, I use this other monitor for that. So it makes it pretty easy. I like it a lot. They're nice and big. I don't have to squint so much to see what I'm doing. So it's nice. Anyway, that's kind of what I've been using right now. I also replaced my audio system because obviously without the Tascam, I was no longer able to have any audio inputs. And you can buy some kind of relatively inexpensive USB-based audio inputs, but I didn't want to just add just another audio input thing. I guess I still had this Onkyo stereo receiver that I was using to power my two MTX speakers that I was using as my monitors, which, by the way, still sound really wonderful. But I figured, why don't I continue this idea of optimizing my desktop space? So I got rid of the Onkyo stereo stuff. I stopped using the MTX speakers. So I got a Roland quad capture device, which has two XLR inputs, but it also functions as an amplifier in powering monitors, monitor speakers. And so I replaced my MTX speakers, my shelf speakers, with Behringer Truth series speakers. They're really big. They're heavy too. They're really heavy, but they're self-powered. They're powered. I'm sorry. And so it's just a better setup altogether. I don't really need to have 8 inputs for audio, but I think I've got 4. I've got 4 audio inputs with this new one. So I'm still able to record my guitar or record my voice or do whatever I needed to do in my setup without having it to take too much of my real estate. So that's my setup. I like it. I think it's a lot more efficient. It certainly is nice to be able to have a retractable keyboard. I have more desktop space. I like what my monitors do now for me. I think it just makes me more efficient in my workflow a little better. In my next video, I'll be discussing the changes that I've made to my portable setup, especially when it comes to making music. Thank you very much for watching this, and have a wonderful day.